All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition of the Thursday Night Football Showdown show here on the Mayo Media Network. If you're just joining us, if you're on your way in, do us a favor, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and then also, if you have 2 seconds, little Christmas present for us, if you don't mind, free to do, go to the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station. Just go to YouTube, type in SHIPIT Nation or youtube.com/@SHIPITNation. We are 89 subscribers away from giving away the annual membership. Our goal, as you guys remember, for those that watch the show often, was to get there by Christmas. We still have 4 days to pick up those 89 subscribers. We're going to throw it out on Twitter. We're going to put it in other places, but definitely if you can help us out, we appreciate that. All of our shows free there and over here, all that. Yeah, of course, always trying to start on time. You guys know what it is. Got Hoop Title here with me. We're going to break down all things Saints at Rams. Total around 45.5. Game is in Los Angeles. We're going to go through all the game, as always, with the captains, ownership, roster construction. A lot of people are saying tough slate. We'll see. We're going to try and get through it. And we'll say this before I throw it to Hoop. We didn't get to a definitive answer from the chat last week because of all the quarterback stuff back and forth. But I believe they did say Seahawks and over. And so it ended up being like, again, they 50-50, but they did get the side right for once. So we'll see how it goes today, see where everyone's at. Hoopster, I'll bring you in, man. What's going on Thursday afternoon? Ready to break this thing down.
Yeah, it kicks off a busy week for NFL content in general. We got the showdown game tonight, obviously, the 2-gamer on Saturday, then the full slate on Sunday. So big prize pools, too, on Saturday. I think $500,000 up top for that 2-game slate. So, yeah, we're winding down here the NFL season, but, I mean, there's still a lot to go. The playoffs are going to be huge. Really looking forward to all that. Tonight's game, feel pretty good about it. I mean, I looked into it a little bit this morning, and I think it's just to kick it off, I think it's a really good spot here for the Rams. Like, I really like the Rams to win this game. I think they could win it by a big margin, and we'll kind of talk about that, throughout the show and in terms of how that can apply to our lineup. So feel pretty confident about it. We'll see what the chat says. If the chat's on my side, it might be a little worrisome. If the chat likes the Rams, it could be a little bit scary, but I think this is a big game for the Rams. So it's my initial thoughts. Curious to see what you guys say. But again, yeah, this kicks off a big week for the NFL.
Yeah, the chat's going to be definitely on the Rams. I can already predict that one. Don't need to get the numbers yet from them, but the chat's heating up. Hoopster's doing that, and I'm finding out just 5 minutes or less into this show that I'll be lighting money on fire tonight because I'm going to be always against everyone in the world on the Rams. Before I get my guy title, I want to remind everyone very quickly, this show is brought to you and presented by runthesims.com. If you want to check it out, go to runthesims.com use promo code SHIPIT. You can get 10% off over there. We will have the Sims segment later on where we break down all of your guys' scores and the ways you guys think that this game plays out. All those Ram blowout lineups that you guys are already thinking about, we'll get those in there for you and Hoopster. But title, bring you in, man. I know you're away, living the dream for the holidays here. What's going on, my man? How you doing?
Yeah, I don't know about living the dream. Some days, yeah, but I like being home in Arizona as well. It's chilly up here. Hitting the Bucs game later, though. I'm excited for that. As far as this slate, it is tough. I don't know if I said that pre-show and you said some people have been saying that. I don't know if you've heard others say that as well. I mean, it comes down to value, man. Like, you go down here, it is really gross, and you want to play the Kyren Williams, the Cooper Kupps, the studs of the world. With the lack of value, it's tough, and I think that leads a lot of people to these kickers, to these defenses, maybe some mid-tier builds. But we just saw on Monday, hey, maybe 2.9 points from one of these guys down below could be enough to win a lot of money. Yeah, it was unfortunate there, but
don't remind me of the perfect run out that the Hurts captain people get from the stolen second touchdown from Swift to the late game value wide receiver touchdown they need from JSN to make the Colby Parkinson 2.9 work, and still almost didn't get, like, they need everything. Dissily, sorry, is what it was. Same one. Same thing.
Yeah, I know. I didn't even want to bring it up. It was a little tilting. It was a great game, though. Drew Lock You let them know, baby. Let them know.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm excited to watch some football. Yeah, talking a lot of football. Hey, Christmas Day NBA is huge as well. Content as always. Rio and I will do a quick hit. That'll be out as well. So yeah, huge week in monster prize pools. A lot of money being made.
Yeah, just real quick, I'm going to get it in now at the start so we can keep it rolling. But if you guys want to go to SHIPITNation.com, if you're playing a lot of Showdown, again, there's a lot of slates over this weekend. We'll get to more on that in a second. We'll have all the content covered for you here at SHIPIT Nation. But again, remember, if you don't want to sign up yet for the site, you just watch the free shows. It's not in the budget. Lots of Christmas presents to buy. Totally understand. Keep watching these shows for free. Help you build the bankroll up that way. And then you can go to the site. No credit card information required. Just an email. Sign up. You get the 45-minute Showdown portion of the NFL education course. We've got the NFL course if you sign up. We've got the NBA course. And spoiler alert, but Hoopster and I recorded the PGA course yesterday as well. 2 weeks away from the PGA starting back up. And then lastly, I'll definitely recommend you get the monthly with the Discord, right? I always say this. You can use the promo code MAYO. It gets you an additional 10% off. So basically $2 a day, you get in on the action. But if there was ever a time just to check out the site and the content, you won't get the Discord that we talk so highly of, but just a week of signing up for $24 still is going to get you tonight's stuff. It's going to get you the Saturday slate, the 2-gamer. It's going to get you the Sunday main slate, Sunday night football, the Monday 3-gamer, and then it's going to get you the NBA up till then on top of the big Christmas Day slate on Monday. Also, the other stuff we've got going on with NHL and then the PGA course. If you want to get brushed up on PGA, anybody who signs up does get access to it. You don't get to own it. You get access. So while you're involved for a week, you can easily fit in 2 hours of your time. You can download the audio so that you have it that way. But just getting in, I think, is the key right now. So we'll leave it at that. Hoop, anything else you want to add before we get into the rest of this slate here and start things off?
Yeah, a lot of people excited about PGA. I know we're talking NFL, but PGA is right around the corner. Like you said, we recorded that show. And we're also, finalizing our content pieces for the season and how that's going to look and how our team's going to look. And man, definitely excited for it. Really looking forward to it. It's fun. Fun to talk PGA. It's fun to get one of our favorite sports back in the mix. And yeah, we'll certainly have you guys covered on multiple angles, on the show angle, the podcast angle, core plays, course fit, player pool, slate plans. I mean, literally everything you need. At the cheapest price in the industry. There are sites that are going to start charging you on, for that first event, and they're going to want $600 up front for their golf product. That's an absolute fucking joke. Like, don't pay those price tags. Like, do not pay those price tags. Come to us. We'll get you content for way cheaper. Those are people price gouging. That is price gouging when people try to do that to you. Do not do it. Stick with us. You'll get quality content for a much, much, much cheaper rate. It's bullshit.
Yeah, excited for all the stuff that we got.
It really
going
is
on,
bullshit, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it happens. It's whatever. It's fine. That's what we've been about from day one. So we're fine with that. Other people want to do it. We're not going to. You're still going to continue to get everything that we offer. Really excited for these course fit rankings. Maybe we do get our guy, and Tweezy says it, course rankings be fire. He was using them in the swing season. We all crushed with that. I got a King of the Desert seat. Other members did as well. Our guy B-Wald, some of the others. But they had to ask you, Title, you going to get in the PGA streets this year? What's going to happen here?
He's in them.
He plays the cash street.
I'm in the cash streets.
It's not the same. No. They're talking tournaments. Are you going to play for the?
Probably not. I'll take my $40K a year in cash and move on. Come on.
Oh, I got him angry enough to drop the number on you guys.
Come on now.
You got Title pissed off when he's dropping figures. Yeah. When he starts dropping those figures.
Come on now. I don't need. You guys got GPP streets. I'll take the safety and I'll move on. You guys do a great job. Probably not in the GPP streets, though.
Sounds like someone wants to take over the PGA cash course for this season.
No, I look at you guys, and I'm mixing our projections, everything. Come on now. But no, I ain't. Probably not.
This show will be back for sure, the in-studio show. We're rounding out our marketing with some PGA stuff here, but we're getting right to it after this, guys. 10 minutes in is always our thing now. But Mayo and I will have the show. This will be off the docket, actually, so just a note news on that. Andy's going to be out on things this season at SHIPIT Nation, but I'll be back. I'll have a show with Degenerate 75 for the first look. Start the season off with the Fantasy Golf Degenerates with my guy Kenny Kim. Hoop and I will have the Tuesday show for sure, which is free for everybody, so you guys can get some ideas there while we're leading up to the content being live on the site. And then we'll see what's in store for the Wednesday show, but lots of big stuff coming when it comes to PGA. Hoop, let's get into it, man. 10 minutes in. We talked on it enough. Give me your grand scheme overview. You said it already. You think it's going to be a great spot. The last time you called this spot was, you called a lot of great things this season, but was Buffalo just absolutely destroying Dallas. When you said you got that feeling, you said it was going to go that way, and Buffalo crushed. Give us your takes on this one and where that's coming from. How do you see it going? What type of score? And then what goes with that for when we're building DFS lineups?
Yes, I'm finally going to win some money tonight. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Hell yeah. Now we're on the right track. Now I'm even more excited. I might have to play for a little bit more tonight now that we got the mute talking going. I think it's a really good spot for the Rams. I mean, they're at full health now, basically. Even Tutu Atwell's back in the conversation. Not that that's like a massive piece of news, but Matthew Stafford has his full complement of weapons. Cooper Kupp is back to being Cooper Kupp. Puka looks phenomenal. What's the tight end's name? I'm drawing a blank. Tyler Higbee. You got Atwell, and then they have their workhorse running back in Kyren Williams, and they've won 4 out of 5 games. They're at home. They're in the playoffs right now. I think they lay a beating on the Saints tonight. So that's the one thing that immediately stands out to me. Now, how can that apply to fantasy? Well, the Saints are a team where when trailing, things get pretty damn condensed. And when they're trailing, Alvin Kamara has the upside to get, 10 to 12 catches. Chris Olave could get absolutely peppered in this spot. So even though I like the Rams to absolutely smash them tonight, I do have some interest in these Saints guys in a trailing game script where you could see Kamara get, 10 to 15 targets, where you could see Olave get 12 targets and kind of get there in garbage time. So, I think it's still a very interesting slate, but I am going to be building teams where the Rams are going to kick the Saints' ass tonight.
Yeah, I like that. If anybody knows the Rounders reference, there's Title telling me to stick to my big dreams and my GPP stuff, and he's going to just collect his cash and keep his.
He'll take his 4 stacks. He'll take his stacks and move on.
He'll take his stacks, and I'll take my stacks of high society, and that's amazing. I love it, though. Title always keeping us in check. Love to see it. Title, Hoopster just broke it down for us. I know you said tough. It was the chat. Like, our own chat was literally saying it, that, it's tough slate. A lot of people said we need some guidance. I know the Discord was talking about it, too. We'll get our guy Double D is there. I see it. But I want to get Title's thoughts on this slate real quick, just to, how you see it, if it's similar to Hoop, or if you've got another take on how this game plays out.
Well, I will say I have a good head-to-head person that probably contributes to a lot of that money. That's all I'll say there. As far as this slate, I mean, the thing is, like, Kyren Williams by far looks like the best play on the slate. He is. He's minus 205 to score. Kamara plus 115, Kupp plus 120. Go down the list. He's the highest priced guy. But pricing's very tight today. Like, it feels like if you do want to go Kyren Williams and play one, or if you play 2 of the other top guys, the Kupps, the quarterbacks, etc., you're going to have to punt with some of these guys down below. You go to, like, the Saints tight ends are cheap. Well, which one's it going to be? Is it going to be Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau, Jimmy Graham, or Taysom Hill? Do you want to go to, is it going to be Ronnie Rivers? Is he even going to be active? Is it going to be Royce Freeman? Is it going to be Tutu Atwell? Like, it is really gross, and you are literally hoping for 2 points, 3 points, and something like a Monday where it's just a stars and scrubs build, which I don't think is the craziest thing. If Kyren falls in the box 2-3 times, you'll probably need him at the captain, but I think he'll still be popular there. How I'm looking at it right now, the most success I actually had on a showdown was these Saints and Taysom Hill being low owned. Right now, I see him in that range. Raheed Shaheed looks overpriced, but an ownership discount with big play upside. I'm going to be looking to get more of a mid-tier-ish build. It's not like I want to punt captains, because I still think you're going to need a solid score, probably someone to fall in the box at captain, but I don't like the builds as much punting these spots with these 1K guys or something down below, hoping for 1 to 2 points, because people are actually going to go that route because it projects really well, because these Kyren Williams, these quarterbacks, Olave, his price stands out a lot. I think that's the build people are going to go. So I'm going to be trying to avoid, we talked about it on Monday, it didn't really work out as much, but I'm on that same path, trying to avoid these complete punts, literally hoping for 1 catch. I don't like that build as much.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about Monday, right, was that we got on to Swift. Like, I definitely did. And the thing about that is, I want to just mention it here because it's going to apply to this slate as well for me, but just to say it, like, when Swift got the late steam on Monday, it didn't bother me as much still, because I still was getting similar ownership to Hurts but I got the builds where I didn't need the punts. It sort of evened them both, and I was fine with that. But you ended up needing the Hurts build because the other stuff that got there. But on the slate, it really ended up being the biggest leverage was opposite Swift, because the late steam on Swift, nobody was on Walker. Tonight, to your point, how do you get off a guy that's minus 200 or better to score a touchdown in a guy like Williams? But on the opposite side, it doesn't seem like Kamara's getting the same love, even though you could see a big game and check downs and things like that. It's hard to peg some of those other spots. So we'll see. I'm going to go back to Hoop because he had this up earlier, but our guy Double D says, what up, boys? 103 lineups done. Big stands. He's with the Hoopster here. 100, but I don't think Hoop's going 100% Cup, but he's going on these Rams. 100% Cup, 0% Carr, 0% of any skill player below 4K, kicker and DST ownership higher than prime Josh Gordon. So, Hoop, you want to follow up Double D and then get to your captains?
Me and Double D are pretty aligned because I do like Cooper Kupp quite a bit. I think he's back to his alpha role tonight, and I think he's a phenomenal captain play. The challenging part of the slate is what Title pointed out and Double D pointed out, where we just don't have the values. And I do think this could be a very similar slate where a guy getting 3 or 4 could just be what you need. I do think that can play out. Now, that doesn't mean I want to go, super heavy on some of these cheap punt plays, but I'm going to keep them in the pool for that reason, because I need the upside. Like Cooper Kupp could just smash this slate. Kyron Williams could smash the slate. I think Nakia could put up a massive score. Kamara and Olave, I think, could do the same. So I don't know. I'm open to playing some of these cheap guys, but man, it's not going to feel good. But again, the reason I'm doing it is because I do think it could be like that slate the other night where 3 or 4 from a guy could potentially just be enough. And like Jimmy Graham, like what is it, 3 games in a row with a freaking touchdown. Like, wow. Like that is so nasty, man. So nasty. 1.6K. They're clearly using him. It's not a comfortable feeling, but for captains tonight, like I don't think it's a quarterback captain night. Like I just don't see it from Stafford. I don't see it from Kupp. They are getting some ownership. Stafford, I'm guessing, will be around 10. Did I say Kupp? I'm going to say Carr. Carr's coming in pretty low, but I just don't see it from those guys. I'm going with the high volume dudes, the Kyron Williams, Kamara, Kupp, Nakia, Olave is the group that I'm kind of looking at. And then maybe even a guy like Tyler Higbee, Demarcus Robinson. I do think there's a little bit of risk with a guy like him with Atwell coming back. Like Atwell, it had been a big part of what they're doing all season long. Now that he's healthy, like they're definitely going to put him out there. So I'm assuming some sort of split between Robinson and Atwell, which really limits the upsides for those guys. So really on this slate for me, it is probably going to be a pretty consolidated captain pool. It's the high upside guys, the high volume guys. I think one of these guys just absolutely nukes the slate. And so that's kind of how I'll be playing the captain position tonight.
Yeah, I actually like similar captains before I kick it over to Title. I'll say this, though. I don't think you need the quarterback with some of these captains. Like, I think Kupp can get there without Stafford and be the guy that's still needed up top. Obviously, Kyron Williams doesn't need a quarterback with him as a running back. I think Kamara or Olave could get there without Carr. It's the same situation stuff where, like, those guys could throw even on last week, it ended up being Hurts in the captain, but there was spots where like it wasn't like not like Drew Lock did much until the end when he got that extra, that touchdown to JSM. But little things like that on slates like this can make a big difference. So I actually think you could go with some of these wide receivers up top without their quarterback in the flex spot. I definitely could see that being a possibility as well. And then our guy Newlands had it up here. This was a little stat because I was with Title when he's naming all those guys. There's literally 4 tight ends, including Taysom Hill. But Foster, 73% snap share, 5 targets, 2K. He has kind of got the same role as Juwan Johnson, at least. For he's basically doing the same thing he's doing for half the price. It's the challenge of, like Tokyo said, how do you cover Jimmy Graham? That's why they're using him when you get down there. Unless your dudes can jump 8 feet high, it basically works every time if they want to go that route. And then you always have Taysom, who knows what you can do with that guy. But obviously the best time really to play him is on a showdown slate because that's where it's just one game, one spot. Anything can happen versus on a main slate. You have all those other options that can override them. So Title, I'll kick it to you for your thoughts at captain tonight.
Yeah, I'm on a lot of what you guys said. I don't love the quarterbacks much. I think Kyron will be by far the highest owned, probably around 20%. And rightfully so. He's been so good. He is the highest price, though. I like going the Kupp Nakuas, who's going to be, of course, they're going to get some 10, 12, something like that. I like them more than Kyron. I plan on being underweight. Kyron, if he doesn't fall in the box, I expect it to be Kupp or Nakua. Half the ownership there. They are a little cheaper, especially Puka. And then on the Saints side, I like Olave a lot at captain. The price is just really nice. 8,600, where Kamara's 10.8. Jamal Williams has been in the mix a lot more as well with Kamara as well. It's not as Kamara's backfield. Jamal has definitely got a good amount of snaps. I'm worried about the touchdown equity for Kamara with Taysom there, with Jamal there, etc. And that price tag. So by far my 3 favorite captains: Puka, Cooper Kupp, Olave. And I don't like the Taysom captains, even Shaheed captains. I don't know if kicker captains the craziest with how thin the value is on this slate. But I still don't think you can plug in kicker captain $0 and then think you're going to be unique, because that's going to get some ownership too. But I think if I had to go anywhere pretty cheap for value captain, it would be kickers in a dome, and just hope the offense is stall. But by far my 3 favorites, Puka, Cooper Kupp, and Olave. And then when we get to the flex, I think it's pretty clear there's a handful of guys that are getting overlooked because of their price and where they're priced in the range, but they will be on the field a lot. And that's how I'm getting different today. So when we get into that, unless you want me to say those guys right now, I'll be mixing those guys in the flex to get different. But captain, I don't think it's a spot you need to be crazy. I think you're going to need someone to fall in the box or put up 100+ yards. That'll be on the captain today.
Yeah, Saints kicker too, a price so nice, $6,900 up top, and you can get there. Also, even like the leverage of just even Saints D up top, it's complete opposite. Not only will in the flex will people play Rams D, but there's going to be a lot more Rams captains up top. So if you're looking for some of those leverage spots, don't like the value plays and want to go that route, I think that's an interesting combination. The one I haven't fully went away from yet, I don't think I'm going to get to Stafford at all tonight. I can't say 100%, but I don't think so as of right now. But the interesting thing about the Carr side is a couple things. One, he's much cheaper. He's 13.5 versus most of those guys are 15K plus, Stafford and above. And he's actually a little bit more expensive than Olave, where that would be the spot where people go if they're going with the Saints. He leverages all those guys on the other side. And if you do even have the idea of Hoop's game plan where like the Rams crush, he's going to be coming from the other side. So I think he does spread it out. I could just see that being a possibility, and I don't really see him getting much ownership here in this spot. So usually not as high on that, but if it's going to be a potential leverage spot that way with, Kupp, Nakua, Kamara, Williams, those 4 guys for me, I could see a guy like Carr falling into that next slot for me where I could still get, 10% of him and feel good about those lineups. Hoop, anything else you want to add going up to the captain spot here? Any other thoughts for leaning into that before we go into the running back plays?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty tight for me up top, but I wouldn't be opposed to like the kicker stuff, just because there's no other cheap guys that really interest me. And I do think this is a slate where, in order for kicker captain to work, obviously the kicker has to, do well, 15 to 20 fantasy points most likely. But I do think this is a slate where we could see 4 or 5 other high priced guys get to like 18 to 25 range, and you just need them. So that's how the kicker captain stuff works. The kicker getting between 15 and 20, and then 4 to 5 other guys getting between like 15 and above, and you just need them in your lineup. I do see that as a possibility tonight. Now, obviously I haven't built any team, so I don't know if I'm going to get there on the kicker captain. It will be noted obviously in my player pool if I do, but not necessarily opposed to it. I could see that playing out on this slate potentially. I did run the 150 just real quick to give you guys an update. I actually went away, so I had to rerun it. It'll take a few. Next time I talk, I'll go through and tell you what it spooled out. But yeah, it's going to be probably a pretty tight captain pool for me tonight.
Yeah, and I should note too, because the chat was just, well, you're looking that up maybe, and I'll go to title on running back thoughts in a second, but a couple notes. One, some of the content stuff, just so you guys are aware of it and want to pay attention to it, is that we are going to be recording, let me get this straight. So I'm looking off my calendar here, but we've got 10 a.m. Eastern on Saturday is going to be a live 2-gamer show for the 2-game slate on Saturday. After that, or somewhere before the games start in the afternoon, Hoop and I are going to record the 3-game Christmas Day slate, breaking it all down. It won't be live, but it'll be a recording because obviously people with their families enjoying Christmas will probably want to watch it the night before or try and sneak it in at some point before that slate. I know Title and Rio are going to be doing I think it's a 5-gamer, right, for the NBA slate on Monday. So they'll be breaking that down and setting that up. So you guys will have all the content you need. But again, that won't be on this station. That will be over on the Ship It Nation YouTube station. And like I said, we're 4.91 here. So we're very close to the 5,000 subscribers. If you guys can help us get there before Saturday, it'd be awesome, because then on the Saturday show, Hoop and I live at 10 a.m. Eastern could give away the annual membership. And then also remember, our guy Chris Neville and our guy DFS Juice also gave us 2 6-month memberships to give away. So we are going to have more giveaways for the Christmas season. You guys know we're going to bring that in for the holidays, but just wanted to bring that up quickly. And then there was one more thing that I thought about here, and I might have forgot it. So Title, I'll let you go ahead here on these running backs and just talk to us a little more about some of the guys and then maybe some of the backups as well, if you have any thoughts there.
Well, first, when you're mentioning car captain, would you make sure to have at least 2 pass catchers with them? Because you'd expect, because if it's just like Olave or just one guy gets all the touchdowns, you'd probably need that receiver at captain. So what are your thoughts there, quick? Because it's the lack of rushing upside.
Yeah, it's almost it's super likely that I get 2 guys in there. I don't think I'm going to force the rule. I'm going to look at it.
Okay.
And again, too, this is what I talk about all the time with using our projections and using the solver. What I'll do is probably just lock car captain, build 25 lineups or something, and peer through them and see, like a virtual hand build, and select the ones that I want that make sense. It's very likely it's going to be that include 2 pass catchers. But if there is something interesting, like a, again, I guess the other way to put it is I'll include Kamara as a pass catcher.
Yeah.
And so I'm not, what I meant to say for people that force rules out there is I'm not going to force 2 wide receivers, because I'd be fine with getting Kamara, Shaheed, and the kicker with 2 guys from the other side, for example, and then be fine with that. I haven't built it out yet, but I definitely think that's the way that I would look at it for this setup. So good question.
Yeah. And back to the kicker captain, I think it's viable for sure. I like it even more in smaller field stuff than larger field stuff, when you don't need the stone cold nuts. But I think it is viable in larger field stuff as well. As far as the running
Happy
back,
holidays to our boy, Joey Work. Want to give him a shout out real quick. What's up, Joey?
What's going on, Joey? Yeah, happy holidays, man. As far as running backs, it's pretty easy. On the Ram side, it's Kyron Williams. It sounds like we have to monitor Ronnie Rivers might be activated, which would mean they have 4 running backs, and they're definitely, I don't think, going to suit up 4 running backs. Like Zach Evans in the mix, you don't have to worry about him at all. And then it was Royce Freeman. Again, I don't think you'd play him. He's 2.6K. I guess if you hope he falls in the box, you get all the leverage off of, or if you think it's a blowout like Hoop does. He got 6 rushing attempts last week. Again, that's just a large field darts. But I think Ronnie Rivers might be activated, which would be interesting. Listen to Coach speak on that side. Really, it's just most people playing 10 lineups or less, 20 lineups or less. Kyron Williams or nothing on the Ram side. Saints side, a little more interesting, because obviously it's Kamara. Last 2 games, Jamal Williams, 11 carries and 8 carries. Got a target in both those games as well. And his price tag at 4.2K falls in a range where he's going to be low owned. So I don't think he's the craziest play. It only takes 1 to fall in the box. There's a lot of competition. If they get to the goal line, he might be in the game. Taysom might be in the game. Kamara might be in the game. Who knows? But if he falls in the box once at 10% or something, I don't think he's the craziest play to get different. So looking at him a little bit, Keandre Miller might be back as well. I don't think you need him by any means. He's 1K. So when you go down and you look at these sub 1.5K guys, there's nobody down there. So if you have 150 max, I assume if he is active, you'll see some pros with the sprinkler too. I don't really think you need it. Even when he was playing, he's going to be a distant third behind Jamal, behind Kamara, might get a snap or 2 here and there, a rookie, but monitor him and Ronnie Rivers as far as activations when it comes today. As far as the running back, though, I get the Kamara take because he's going to be a lot lower owned than the Kyron Williams and the range he's in. But I think that's the split kind of, and at his price, I just like the Cups, Nakua's, the quarterbacks more in the flex, etc. So I don't love Kamara as much. I think Jamal Williams is interesting. You're overspending. But if he falls in the box once at 10%, I like that. So I prefer him in the flex at the ownership, probably underweight Kamara. Kyron Williams, there's nothing that really needs to be said. The dude's absolute monster. They're getting the ball 25 times. He's getting 5-6 a pop. Great game script. He's going to be chalk for a reason.
Yeah, that's a good breakdown there. I mean, obviously the stuff with Kamara, you know what you're getting up against, and it's hard when the price is what it is with the other guys around him and what's on the other side. But that's the setup of it. It's not just the facts, the truth of people always say, oh, it's always the opposite side. I mean, I joke around with some guys about that stuff as well, but it is the point of the leverage piece is like, why would people want to get to him that much when you've got Kieran Williams right there in the spot that he's in at home, all of those things. And then I don't know if this is a troll or not, but this has to be because it's like always the thing the broadcasters mention with tight ends. Oh, you used to play basketball back in the day. No shit. Like they all did. That's what kind of it comes back to. But we always have to listen to that one. And it's hilarious.
LeBron would be the best tight end in the league if he played football, right?
It even flips. Exactly. Even goes both forward the other way. So
if he can take a hit across the middle, he might be.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Yeah. Okay, so there's other stuff here, but Hoop, if you want to hit on those running backs quick yourself, is there anything you have to add there? Title did a pretty good job, I think, of breaking it all down.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, it's Karen, it's Kamara, and Jamal Williams. I mean, this could be a slate where if a 4K guy gets 7 or 8, you just need him. 7 or 8 is a touchdown, essentially. So I'm good with Jamal Williams, and I'm not going to mess with the other guys.
And sorry if neither of you were playing Jamal Williams at captain, right?
No, sir.
Okay, I thought somebody asked that in the chat too. I was like, I know what you're saying. Like he's the guy that if he just falls in the box and you get him in there, you're fine.
Yeah, for flex. Yeah, flex.
Okay. Before then, I get you to go to wide receiver, Hoop, because nothing more for me to add here. If you guys want to start now, not for the sim segment, I just want to know who wins the game and over or under 45.5. I think, 45.5. Who wins the game? And over under 45.5. What do you got? So winner and over or under Hoop. I'll go back to you. Wide receivers then take over that spot and talk to us more.
Yeah, I mean, pretty easy position to digest. I mean, we talked about Kupp, Nakua, and Olave in the captain. I think we're all kind of on the same page. Those are captain plays for us. They're also flex plays. I mean, good price on Olave, 86, Nakia, 96. Cooper Kupp is up to 11K. We don't have a ton of value. I get all that. But these guys are all phenomenal wide receiver plays. Shaheed at 7K, I don't know if I'll get much of them, to be honest with you, at 7K. I mean, I could end up with a more stars and scrubs type of approach today, depending on how much Kupp I try to get in the captain, depending on how much Kyron Williams I try to get in the captain. The 7K Shaheed price tag, I might just not get a lot of it. Demarcus Robinson at 54, don't really love it with Atwell back. Atwell is going to be out there some, there's no doubt about it. And he's 2,800. So I'd just rather take my chances on a guy like Tutu Atwell. The ownership probably pretty similar, I'd say, between Demarcus Robinson and Atwell. I'll just go with a much cheaper guy. Can mix in some A.T. Perry. Lynn Bowden Jr. got, I believe 5 targets last week. Obviously, I think that was without Olave, but 4 or 5 targets in the last couple of weeks. He's a cheap guy I have some interest in. And that's about it. So love the expensive guys. I'm going to, by necessity, play some of these cheap guys. And then the guys in the middle, I probably don't get much of, Shaheed or Demarcus Robinson.
Yeah, it's tough here, Title, because I think that's the other thing I'm noticing too. Like one thing that stands out to me big time, and it starts at wide receiver, is where everybody wants to play the expensive wide receivers. And mostly it's the Rams, Kupp and Nakua, and then go to the other side with the Saints and play some of these cheap options and make their look. We're making cases on Lynn Bowden, and we're making cases for who's the other guy, A.T. Perry, and things like that, where if it makes it work, it gets me everything I want for how I think the game's going to play out. But you could flip that as well. Where's your take on Atwell? Because obviously to start the season, there was some different things going on than his stuff that he had coming back from. So I guess start with Atwell and then work your way up the board. If there's any other guys down there you want to talk about as well, but I'm curious your take on him.
Yeah, I think he gets some steam because there's just really nobody down here. And so he missed last week with a concussion. He got hurt the week before, but even the week before, Demarcus Robinson was starting to get in the mix and splitting with Tutu. I'm on the Demarcus train. You look at the props, plus 300 for Demarcus to score, plus 425 for Tutu. I think we might see a little bigger ownership discount than Hoop's thinking. If they are relatively similar, I would definitely prefer the savings. But 5,400 for Demarcus and 2,800 for Tutu on a slate where pricing's pretty tough. I just think we see a pretty big discrepancy there. I mean, I was talking about earlier, eating some chalk at captain, or I'm not going to be playing Shaheed or Jamal or these 1% guys. Right here at receiver, 2 guys that stand out that will be 20% or right around there that will be on the field. Shaheed and Demarcus Robinson. You're overspending, there's no doubt about it, but it only takes 1 touchdown, and that's how you kind of get different. So, yeah, I'm a little different than Hoop here. Those are the 2 that stand out. Shaheed has that big play upside. The price is gross. There's no doubt. Shaheed at 7K, gross. That's why his ownership's going to be there. but you do know he can take 70 yards and absolutely break the slate, kind of like Jamal Agnew did.
Yeah.
And it's like when we get to Taysom and stuff like that, Taysom's going to be on the field. He's overpriced for his role, but if he falls in the box once, falls in the box twice, you will need him. On a slate that's really tough like this, when people are going down for all this value and stuff and hoping they get 1, 2, 3 points, I'd rather overspend for guys I know will be on the field. Yes, they're overpriced, but at least I know they're on the field that have opportunities. So that's really the only difference. Anyone man, if you really want someone down here like Ben Skoranek, that's a guy you're literally hoping for one catch. And then you're just, because he's $400 and no one else is down there. But yeah, other than that, like we talked about Olave, all of that stuff. It's really just Shaheed and Demarcus Robinson that I think are pretty interesting as overspends that are going to get kind of forgotten in the range.
Yeah, a lot of Rams overs here. I like your takes there, though, and I think the Robinson one, a little bit more intrigued. I guess like that, again, Robinson or Atwell, however you want to shake it up. You got a lot of lineups. I got no problem mixing and matching, but my point would more so be when people already have 2 of Nakua, Kupp, and Kieran Williams in a lot of lineups because it's easily affordable to get 2 of them in there and then build out from there. I just don't think they end up again on a third wide receiver for that team or a secondary to a Kieran Williams as much. So they'll get some ownership, but I like the call of, like, again, I always talk about this, paying up for probability. Both those guys definitely possible. And our guy Eddie, he's talking about it with the shades. Eddie with the shades, Shaheed versus Rams secondary could definitely be a possibility. It just costs a lot more than Agnew did at $200 when he did it. You're paying quite a fee for it, but could be the way it works. And again, you can stay within some of those more balanced builds that way and get off of the kickers, the defenses, the cheap options for New Orleans and get a guy like him in there, even if you are going heavy Rams builds on that side. So that would be my take on it. And then the original take of just the obvious that the ones that are going to get the most ownership are the 3 that we know up top. I think people lean heavily towards the Rams side. So it'll be interesting to see where Olave comes in overall. But even Olave at like 8,600 is just a solid price in the flex. Again, like you said, 1,600 less for Shaheed. It could be a good option here just to go down to him and just pay for it. But, get the lower ownership with that spot. Hoop, did you have anything else you wanted to add here? If not, you can take us into these tight ends. Like Title mentioned earlier, you include Taysom Hill by designation. You've got 4 tight ends. It looks like on just the Saints side alone, you got Higbee, who you mentioned off the top for the Rams. And then their guy, Allen, I think he still got some snaps last week, right? I think he was still in the mix there. And
yeah,
he was.
He even got a target there, 14-yard catch. So, yeah, give me. He could be your 2.4 points that you need on that side. Give me your shot, the tight end.
Yeah, I mean, Taysom Hill, we always talk about him on these shows. Like, I really believe it. Like, if you've been playing him and you've had success, like, just keep putting his ass in there. If you haven't been playing him, like, probably stay away. It is Showdown, so I guess, it may be a little more consideration. But I don't have a ton of interest in Taysom. Higbee, I do like at 58. And then you have all these cheap guys. I mean, you have Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau, Davis Allen, and Jimmy Graham, who I'll reluctantly play in some of my lineups. I like Moreau the best out of the cheapies. I mean, he's been playing a lot. The number, someone posted it earlier in the chat. He's been out there a lot, coming off a decent game, 2K. We just need some value. I'll be mixing and matching these guys and hoping someone does something, I guess. I don't know. But there's now none of these guys I'm going to be super overweight on. The only one that I might get overweight on by a decent margin would be a guy like Foster Moreau at 2,000. Just makes a lot kind of work. But I don't know. Nothing stands out as like, oh, I absolutely love this play. But there are a lot of these guys just seem very similar to me. Just kind of mix and match them in your lineups.
What happens here, Title? There's only 2 ways this goes. Everyone gets on the steam of Foster Moreau thinking, I'm not going to play Jimmy Graham because it's not going to happen again. And then it does happen again, and Jimmy Graham gets the touchdown, and that's just all you need from him. Let's just say that. Or do people jump on Jimmy Graham because they go with what the chat was saying earlier, how it's like, again, forget the people that actually look into snap counts and stuff. Everyone just looks and says the guy gets a touchdown every game. They can't own him. They can't handle him in the red zone, end zone stuff. And then he ends up getting it. What do you see happening here when people do go down to this spot?
I think they're going to go Foster for that 400. I mean, Jimmy Graham, first of all, maybe casuals like, Jimmy Graham's still in the league, and maybe they click the box score and they see it. But, I mean, it's that 400. Foster projects a lot better. Tight end's so tough. So any of these tight ends, I will say, are going to be sub 20% in the flex. So all of these guys you can use to get different in chalkier builds. Looking at the touchdown props at these guys, Taysom plus 215, Higbee plus 290, Jimmy Graham plus 500, Juwan plus 500, Foster Moreau plus 850. So that is very interesting. Obviously, Foster is on the field a lot in between the 20s. And then when they get to the goal line, that's a lot when Jimmy Graham and stuff comes in. I don't know. Taysom, I definitely have a little bias. He won me the showdown slate earlier, but it was a different spot. I know Foster was in. Juwan was out that game, and I believe someone else was out that game that gave Taysom a lot more reps at tight end. So it's not the same spot, but he's plus 215 to get in the box. And would anyone be surprised if, Taysom has 2 1-yard rushing touchdowns today and you need him in the flex spot? No, you are overspending for it, but you know that they love him down there. You know he has the touchdown upside, plus 215 for someone that's going to be, I don't know, 15%, 10%, something like that. Again, maybe I have a little bias, but I think Taysom, Higbee are my favorites because Higbee's tight end 1. Taysom, can get in there. You're completely overspending. Defenses, kickers, when we get to them, they're going to be way more popular than usual on this slate, or people just want to go to the Olaves, et cetera. So it's kind of in a dead zone. And those touchdown props, plus 215 ain't bad at all. Plus 280 isn't bad at all. Do I have a lean on any of these other guys? No, I would just be mixing in, I don't know, Davis Allen would probably be my least favorite. Juwan's kind of in that dead zone range as well. I don't have a lean with any of these other guys. I will say Taysom, I will be playing some. Higbee, I will be playing some as well. But all of those tight ends, sub 20%, use them to get different. Shaheed, Jamal Williams, you can't be jamming all the chalk. So those are the guys I'll be looking at in the mid-tier build that will still be on the field and have a chance.
Yeah, I will say this too. This fits the mold of what I was previously talking about as well. Again, even when people get down here, got to use the cheap New Orleans guys, right? So whether it is Moreau or Jimmy Graham or whatever they do, it's just that's the way to make your Kieran, Kups, double pick of those guys, or with or Nakua, Stafford, whatever the combo people are playing with that. So again, when you go down here, I like your talk of the payout for probability guys. Like you'd already had Shaheed and you had Robinson in the mix. Now you bring Taysom Hill into it. It could definitely happen. But Higbee is the guy that's interesting because he takes away from the expensive Rams receivers and Kieran Williams. And he also isn't the talk of the cheap guy down. They're not saying you can't play both, but just to bring that up. And of course, my guy Andrew knows there's no way that Jimmy Graham can hop in and score a 4th touchdown in 4 straight games. There's no way. And then didn't we do this on Monday?
He's due to not find the end zone, Tambo, in case you didn't know. He's due to not find the end zone.
People are due to be cheeks because they said Drew Lock was cheeks on Monday, and what happened? He came out and got the job done as well. So anything.
Well, he was cheeks until the last drive of the game.
Till he had tears rolling down his cheeks after the game. Good for him, man. Got the job done. JSN, by the way, just a stud. That was a sick catch. DK made 2 incredible catches on that drive to lead them up there as well. So you got to give the other guys credit too. It was definitely an awesome game for what could have been a really bad one. I thought it turned out to be quite good. Not sure how this one will go tonight, but I will say this. The chat is official. Our guy William Grimes is capping it off with another Rams over. The official chat is Rams and over. So we'll see where they get it wrong today. It's always fun though to go around with that and have it. It's going to be awesome. So let's keep talking about this one here. Stick with you, Hoop. Anything else to add on that stuff? If not, you can do kickers, defenses, go from there.
Yeah, kickers are gonna, depending on how you build your teams. Like for me, kickers are gonna end up just being a necessity, and I don't hate it because it's in a dome tonight, and I think both teams can potentially move the ball. So I'm good with both these guys. They've been pretty productive kickers this season as well. I don't know how do you pronounce the Rams guy? Have a risk or something? I have no idea.
Lucas.
Like who?
Lucas.
Yeah, Lucas. Yeah, Lucas. So you look at it, 8, 13, 11, 7, and he's making most of his field goals attempts. So I'm cool with him. And then Group on the Saints side, actually he hasn't really done all that much and hasn't really had the opportunity. He had one game where he attempted 6, but outside of that, 1-1-0, 1-2. Yeah. So maybe I don't like the kickers as much, but probably just going to have to play them by necessity and hope, something works out. We just don't have the cheap guys. If you want Kyron Williams captain teams, if you want Cooper Kupp captain teams, if you want Kamara captain teams, you're probably just going to have to play some of these kickers. Defense, probably a little bit of a similar story. I anticipate getting more defense than I typically get. just because of the lack of plays. When you go through, there's just not a ton of just plays in general tonight. So probably end up with more kicker and defense than I've had in a while tonight for that reason.
Yeah, maybe have risk is no risk tonight. You could just play him, get away with it, no problem at all. Just put him in your lineups and you're good to go. Start every lineup with him in there, the Rams kicker, because he's cheap. He puts up the points, $4,800 in the flex title. Do you have different takes? Kickers, these usually look at them from the perspective of, okay, this is what's happening. Maybe I can go the opposite, but I don't know where people are going tonight. It's one of those spots. If it was in New Orleans, we know their kicker would be popular because people usually like them at home. But in this spot here, the defense is pretty cheap, 38 and 3,400. At least the Rams D, you'd have to think would be somewhat popular here at 3,800. But I'm not sure how you see it. How do you see it play out?
I think all four of them are popular. Just like you look in the range, yeah, the defenses are cheap. Who's in their range? Juwan Johnson is 4K, Rams D 38, or let's go Jamal 42, Juwan 4K. Then you get Rams 38, Saints 34, A.T. Perry, Lynn Bowden. Then you can get to 2-2. Like Rams and Saints are going to be way higher on than Juwan, Jamal, A.T. Perry, Bowden. Then you look at the kickers. Who's above them? DeMarcus Robinson, Tyler Higbee. Like the range is just so much worse. And that's why I was mentioning all these guys as difference makers are to get different, because people are going to go when you fall in that range, either a kicker or a defense. They project better than all of them. Defenses are always on the field. They've had a historic year in Showdown. People aren't going to forget that. And yeah, kickers in this game in a dome, I'll be playing them. But I think you have to be cognizant on how you do play them. And that's why the Higbees, the Jamal Williams, Juwan Johnsons, very easy pivots in that range of guys that will be on the field that will be much lower owned. So in chalkier builds, I'll be looking for pivots. If you're getting different at captain already, or you're already mixing in a Taysom Hill or something, then I think plugging into defense or kicker is perfectly fine there. So I think your other roster construction should dictate whether you eat some chalk at defenses or kickers. I don't have a strong lean on which guy it's going to be, et cetera. Who knows? It's so random at these positions. But it's mainly just roster construction will dictate what I do, whether I eat the chalk or get different in the range around them.
Yeah, we could just see PPR points racked up everywhere in this one, where these just, again, if they don't end up doing as much down there, I know they're cheap, but if you see other spots where guys come through with a touchdown from down there, if we see more PPR points just getting racked up top, maybe it is the small amount of points they put up. You don't need a huge game from them. So it's really tough to say. I'll probably have more Saints D just because it looks like the Rams D should be pretty popular, especially if people get to the 4-2 builds, or even if they're getting to 5-1s and things like that. I can just leverage it the opposite side. Our guy DD was in here earlier, Robert, so you must have joined us late. We already brought it up. And Title, any take on this one? Our guy Adam's always a great supporter of the show. I know it's season long, but we'll help him out here. Mayo Media Network,
Olave.
Lots of stuff. You like Olave tonight?
Yeah, I like Olave.
Yeah, and I don't trust Deontay as much with Mason Rudolph, who was announced official today, by the way, as well. So Adam will hook you up there. I think it's going to be going with Olave tonight. Definitely could see that. Another Rams over, can't bet against McVay. So I don't know. It's tough to say. Hoop, I brought up FanDuel because we're going to get to the sim segment. If you guys want to start throwing your scores, and I know you did actual scores already. It was the opposite of what I asked for, but we'll look at the ones from before if we need it. But for now, if you want to throw your scores in, you can. But FanDuel thoughts, Hoop, this is running it on the dry run of what it looks like as per what Vegas has it at, right? Like I just clicked run the sims. It likes Kieran Williams. I mean, the weird part is it's really spaced out. Like even with Kieran Williams, they're only wanting him in around 52% of total lineups. There's no huge conviction here, but it's probably because a lot of these plays are very similar when you mix in Stafford, Nakua, Kupp, Kamara, all the other guys that you can use over there. 2 times.
Yeah, twice. I mean, double. Maybe now I'm going to win double the money I was going to.
Speaking of FanDuel, I'm going to ship DraftKings and FanDuel.
No double dipper tonight for sure. It's the same thing though. It's like there's no cheap play, so no one is going to be able. You're not going to be able to get 80% Kyron Williams up top or anything like that. Prices that kind of stand out. I'd say Nakia at 12K is pretty cheap. Olave 12.5, relatively cheap. Kickers and defenses are in the same range they're typically in. Like Taysom Hill at 10K, like that's a terrible price. Like he's got to do he'll have to do like multiple touchdowns to pay off that 10K. Couldn't click that name. Higbee I do like at 7,500. That's a very cheap price tag. I like him actually quite a bit on FanDuel. Jamal Williams, 7K, like, similar price tag on DK, where it's like you're just looking for a touchdown at that point. I'd be fine with that. Foster Moreau, 5,500. But again, none of these guys are slam dunk plays. Very similar setup where there's not many cheap plays. The two guys that stand out as solid price point plays for me, though, Nakia at 12K, and then Tyler Higbee at 7,500.
Yeah, what about MVPs up there? Would you put either of those guys there? Or are you going to stick to Stafford and just use them in the any spot, any flex?
Yeah, probably, mostly the Rams guys would be Williams, Stafford, Kupp, Nakia. I'd probably focus on those four. Those are the ones I like the best, definitely on FanDuel.
Okay. Title, anything extra you've got to add there? I mean, the chat, just on the thought process too, like I said, obviously you got to mix in more guys. So you're going to see this, but usually you see at least someone lead heavily. It still is Williams, but it's only 53% of the time they have him even in the optimal lineup over there. That's still, it's more than half, but usually you see like a 78 on somebody or something like that. There's just so many guys over there. Anything else to add before we get to picking scores here?
Yeah, no, FanDuel, I mean, they priced him right finally. 16K is the highest guy on a slate where value's a little tougher. So I think you can get away. Of course, leaving money on FanDuel is always recommended since it's hard to get difference. And yeah, I agree with Thoop. Like it's a lot of the same guys on DK on FanDuel that are way overpriced. The Taysom Hills, the Shaheeds, the DeMarcus Robinsons. It's way even tougher to click on FanDuel, but it's so much harder to get different on FanDuel. If you're trying to solo ship or like less than 10, you'll probably need to click those guys. But yeah, Foster's price, Higbee's price stands out. But yeah, I agree with a lot of and defenses, kickers, etc. will be owned over the kickers. Actually, I'll take that back. Kickers will be, I think, a lot more owned than defenses on FanDuel. So I think defenses on FanDuel, you can get a little more different as well. Whereas on DK, they have enough price difference from the kickers that they'll still get a lot of ownership.
Yeah, I agree with that part as well. The other thing I was going to ask you, Title, is I know what side Hoop's on because he's heavy on the Rams side, but if the Saints win tonight, is it an over or is it an under? Like, again, I'm not like trying to pick it exact. I'm just saying, but do you think it's
I would say under?
The defense shows up and that keeps the offense down for the Rams, or do they get lucky in a shootout and Carr somehow shows up? Because Carr and Stafford, as much as Stafford and both Carr get made fun of, what if it was just what the game where the two bad quarterbacks go heavy back and forth? How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, I would say under. I have a hard time picturing Carr put up 40 on anybody nowadays.
See if you can find a score for that. I ran the dry run here. Hoop, your take on that. If the Saints somehow do hop up into the mix, do you see something like Alex's 2013, or could you see where Carr flies at it and they get an over?
Yeah, I'd probably assume that it goes under. I mean, probably. Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. Our guy Tweezy earlier was asking if we could just run it as is, so I ran it quickly. Very similar, actually, to Title here, and I know you pulled that score up. We'll go to it next quickly, but just to say it, a little bit heavier. We'll get closer to that 60% total range. Obviously, heavy captain usage for Williams, Nakua. Olave still shows up quite a bit, which is interesting. Kamara, not much at all. Kupp, though, is the guy they seem to hate on compared to Puka and Kieran Williams. Any first take on this Title before we go to that 2013 score?
Yeah, I think Olave is going to pop or be a solid value pretty much anywhere because I look at him as the same as like the Cubs, the Kyron, all that. But that price you highlighted is so good. Yeah. And I like why I like Puka and Kupp a lot at the captain is that means Kyron's not going to fall in the box. If one of those guys make it, you expect the Kupp 70-yard like last week, or Puka, Kyron doesn't get those touchdowns, and then you're leveraging off the 20% captain. They have 21% compared to what? Kupp 13, Puka 12. So I like that the leverage. And you mentioned with Higbee earlier, if like Higbee, you liked Higbee more than the other tight ends because if he does get there, you're leveraging off a lot more chalk with the Rams than you are with the Saints, which I think makes a lot of sense as well.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Again, this build is obviously set up on the current game score, whatever it was. Like we just used the 25-21 to see what the optimal results were. But this is another thing too, like I always say with projections in general, I stand by the projections. I use them. I'm saying that if I notice something though, like this, where it's like clearly Kieran Williams is a much better play than Kamara. Well, using that to know it, what if the game script flips? I don't even have to go run the score and run the sims to see this, where I could easily still talk myself into it. Even though this looks bad on paper and they're saying he never really shows up. Well, if I'm just flipping it in my mind, I know that a lot of people are going to have Williams up there, and you can go to Nakua, you can go to Kupp, but I also can just put Kamara in some and then flip it that way. So I just use it for different ways because of that. But that's just one thing I'll note quickly before we plug this in. Let's go 20-13. You had it up there earlier. Let's plug this score in. We'll go up. We'll run the sims and see what we're getting as far as the optimal results for this one. Just see what it pops up like. But I'll let you talk about it first. Title here. Probably, the game script's obviously going to flip in this case, but it's probably still going to be Kieran Williams' time just based on his usage and everything that goes with it. So we'll have to wait and see how these things look.
Yeah, I'm thinking they'll still like Kieran, hate Stafford, love Carr, love Olave. And I'm definitely interested to see what it's thinking of all these like really cheap punts down here with roster construction. Likes Carr.
I wonder about this one too. This guy just said, but you have to pick. Oh, he's only picking one. Like, I don't even care about the other two. It's definitely Pittman or Puka tonight. But I don't know what you would do there. What would you do, Title, with that? Wait on Pittman or roll?
Yeah, has there been I haven't seen any update on Pittman with that concussion last week. If it's up in the air, I would probably roll Puka. If it sounds like he's pretty confident to play, I'd go Pittman. But I mean, that hit. He could have broke his neck last week. That was scary. He got.
It already says limited practice on Wednesday, so it was a bad hit though.
Yeah, he got up and he was good.
We already talked about all this. If you missed it, Adam, we hit on all. We literally compared DeMarcus and Atwell and broke down the whole situation to both of them. So you can go back and check that out. But here's what we got. Title, break it down for us, man. What do you see?
Yeah, I'll probably go Pittman. He practiced, but you can't go wrong with Puka at all either. As far as this, yeah, so hate Stafford like we thought, like Carr, still likes Kyren Williams, even though they put up 13 points, was just assuming probably one touchdown. Unless they miss a field goal. I don't know how to run the sims, the percentage that, but still likes Kyren, which definitely makes sense. Olave, positive value. Kamara, that's interesting. Still in a winning script they don't like, which I didn't love Kamara anyway. But when you look at the ownership, it makes sense. Go to the other side of the chalk. But yeah, I didn't love it. Saints D, that totally makes sense. Shaheed, there you go. So if you think the Saints win, these secondary, let's see like Taysom below and stuff like that, or all these tight ends down below too. Yeah, all these guys. If you think Saints win, get heavier on the Saints. People want to go the Rams side, and all these guys at their ownership because they are coming in. I don't know if I guess I don't know if Jamal is going to be 5% or 4%, etc. But it still likes him way more at like 15, 16%, which would be overweight. So yeah, what I'm taking out of is if you think Saints keep it close, go heavier on the Saints because a lot of people want the Rams side.
Yeah, and even here, like if you go Carr with Olave and Shaheed, like that's pretty interesting build that not many people are going to have. And then, yeah, you got to make other stuff work on the other side and maybe punt one guy or go down to a Robinson Higbee type thing where they're not popping as much, but they're still popping as potential leverage here. So I don't hate looking at some of that stuff after hoop. Anything you want to take away from this one and then give us the score that you want to look at or just one you've got in your mind. You said how you see this game playing out. Let's look at it. What's that score you're seeing tonight?
The one thing that stands out is the Kamara stuff. I think it's somewhat interesting that he's not showing up well. In these sort of games. He's 10-8. I mean, he's got a big boy price tag, and you put him in the captain, he's 16-2. So yeah, maybe I don't get as much Kamara as I kind of initially thought. We'll see though.
You probably won't. But just a quick note on that: Walker looked horrible on Monday too, right? Remember, it's always going to be that. Yeah. It's just you are playing the game theory leverage angle. Going there, you just have to know that when you're challenging the tools like this for sure.
Yeah, I like something like this, 28-17, somewhere in that range.
Okay, 28-17.
But yeah, if you want Kamara, you're probably gonna have to force him in, and which makes sense. I mean, it's Alvin Kamara that can catch 10 passes. Like you can see the script, but you're gonna have to probably force it for sure.
Yes. I will say when I ran that 150 with just changing nothing. It actually got a lot of kicker captain. So it's just because the top end guys are projecting very well. There's no value, and it wants those top end guys in there. The most reasonable way to do that is kicker captain. It was like 11% on one of I think the Rams guy was in there 11 without changing anything. The Rams guy was in there like 11%, which is wild.
No risk. That much. I told you. No risk. I'm playing him tonight.
Yep.
So you got to just throw him up top there, Lucas. So put him in. Here's your score hoop. You got Kieran Williams bumps now to 60, so we finally got someone there. But it's Stafford, drops a little bit at captain. So basically it loves Kieran at the captain, loves your guy Puka. Like, this is setting right up your alley. This is what you want to see, and this is exactly the guys you're in love with too. So I think anything else that stands out here, anything else you're noticing with this one?
Yeah, Kamara again, not showing up as a solid play. It's, very, very interesting. Kickers coming in at a pretty high rate, 33, 28, which we kind of talked about. Like, if you're playing Kieran Williams and Nakia, who's the other expensive dude? Olave, Cup. If you're playing all those guys up top, like, you're going to just get to kickers at a pretty high rate. The defenses are showing at a decent rate, as you can see right there. So, yeah, kind of what you'd expect.
And the chat does like the over big time. So we could get that under double kicker game too. Laser says it, right? Double kicker night could definitely be the thing where we set it up that way. That can work too in some angles where if you got, whatever it might be, where you got a 4-2 or a 5-1, if you're going hoops angle on the Rams side, where you still just have the kicker coming back because there is, Carr failed drives, and yes, Olave could rack up the points, but if the other guys beat him all on the other side, it's all that stuff. And someone said too, for what it's worth, Pittman Jr. was a full practice today. I didn't go pull the full practice report, so definitely something to think about there. Title, final thoughts from you before we get out of here, man. We went an hour. We went through quite a bit for this slate. I think it's going to be a fun one tonight. Anything else you've got to add before we get out of here?
I thought we broke it down in a lot of good ways. I mean, value stinks, so defense kickers are going to get more ownership than they usually do, especially when you want to play the great captains who are expensive, the Kyron Williams, the Pukas, the Cups of the world. So if you are playing those captains, which we still do like, think of how you can get different. We talked about the Higbees, the Taysom Hills, the DeMarcus Robinsons, et cetera, the world. But the more I do like kicker captain. We mentioned it earlier. But I like that kicker and defense captains even more in smaller field stuff when, again, you don't need the stone cold nuts and you don't need to get as crazy. Like I said, if you plug in kicker captain in that large field, 98,000 people tournament, and you leave $0 in salary or $400, don't think that's going to be different, even though they might be 3% owned at captain, et cetera. That's still a lot of people when you're taking 98,000, almost 3,000 people are still doing that. So, I mean, we always talk about when you win, how much do you win? That's why we talk about ways to get different. Today's a really important day, I think, because no one really wants to go down below. Leaving salary is always a good way. But I'm excited for this game. It should be a good one in the dome, pretty close spread. And I hoop on the Rams. It makes a lot of sense. 28-17, something like that. I feel like it'd be a lot of winners in the Discord.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. And Alex says, hoop on the NBA show today. That's right. Over on the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station. If you guys want to get over there, we talked about it already, but 4.91K. We're on the drive for 5. If we do get to the 5,000 subscribers, it's free to subscribe over there. It has nothing to do with the site, where you'd be able just to click subscribe for free, get all of our content that we do over there. All of our shows at the Nation are free. Be able to get those there. And we're going to be giving away the annual membership. The $5.99 big boy is what we're giving away when we get to 5,000 subscribers over there. If you guys want to get on the action, get 10% off any of our plans, you can use code MAYO. It would get you the monthly for $62. So you get everything that we cover, the projections, ownership, tools, rankings, core reports, player pools, slate plans, the courses with the PGA course coming out. And then, of course, you get into the Discord community. Ton of people in that Discord, a ton of sharp people, great players, great people to talk with. If you're finding your game or trying to find your way to get better, we said it on the course yesterday. The more you learn, the more you earn. There's a lot to learn going on in the Discord over there, so you guys can check that out. But this would be a week if you are wanting to get in and just check things out for the first time. I normally lean the other way because we want you in the Discord. But this week, with everything going on today, the Saturday football slate, the Sunday main, Sunday night football, Monday 3-gamer for NFL, Monday 5-gamer for NBA, all the NBA, NHL stuff in between, and the launch of our PGA education course at SHIPIT Nation Education, this would be the week to just check it out for $24. Hoopster, your final thoughts, anything you want to add there before we get out of here?
Yeah, let's start this week 16 off on the right foot. Keep it going all weekend. Tons of big boy slates. Play within your means. There's a lot of opportunity this weekend. Looking forward to it. All our content will be out early as always. We'll be in the Discord answering any questions. But yeah, let's start out in a big way here tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, supporting. As always, we appreciate you. Smash that like on the way out. Subscribe to the channel. Happy early holidays, but we got a lot more shows kind of coming up before then. So we'll wish it to you again as we get closer to it. Like I said, we've got the content covered for you all weekend leading right up to Christmas Eve, going into Christmas Day. Thank you guys for watching. For Title, for Hoop, and for myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it!